video is gonna be the most controversial one I've ever made. Consistency. See, we always come back to consistent. It was just a slip of the tongue, guys. Can we all just calm down? Is there no other way? I hate them so much, they make me stress. Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new right here, I am Yvette and I moved to the UK in May and I am documenting my experiences. So firstly, I'm not as energetic as normal. We'll see how we go, see if I can turn it on for the video, but I've had the worst night's sleep because my neighbor upstairs doesn't really live here, but for some reason the contractors came in at literally 10:30 at night and was banging and drilling till 1 AM and they were like slamming doors and our doors are like across from each other, so I was like, I'm not getting any sleep. And then I had to get up early for work in the morning, so I was just like, I can't. And then they didn't end up leaving till 5 and I think they slept there, which was naughty. But the whole thing's naughty because I am so tired. I'm about 4 hours sleep, maybe, if not less. So we'll see how we go. Apologies. Also, before we jump into the video, I did want to say that I've just changed my scheduling a bit. So I obviously make these UK-based videos, but I also do travel videos as well, occasionally when I have been traveling. So instead of just spamming you guys with a lot of travel videos and you're like, I don't remember signing up for this, what I'm going to do is if I have travel videos, they're going to come out on Wednesdays. So I'm going to have Wanderlust Wednesdays, and that'll be whenever there's a travel video, it'll be that day, but not every Wednesday, just when there's around. There will be one next Wednesday. I think it is Helsinki because that's my last video from my Christmas trip, but other than that, usual programming is normal. So for this video, I wanted to do a video about the things that are less than ideal in the UK. Obviously, I love the UK. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And I wouldn't even say I hate all these things necessarily, but they're definitely negative emotions. Hate's a strong word, I'm aware, but makes a catchier title, what can I say? We'll jump into it. These are the things, and these are not London-based, these are just UK-based. Firstly, I love the trains here, and I say like the overground, like being able to get to Manchester in 2 hours, amazing. What I don't love, the price. It's so expensive. Like I would do so many more trips on weekends if the trains were reasonably priced. It is cheaper to fly to Europe than it is to catch a train in the UK. It's crazy. And even if I'm like, okay, well, I'll just drive. One, it's bad for the environment, but regardless, it takes so much longer. So it's gonna take me, I think 3 to 4 hours to drive to Manchester, but I could catch the train for 2, but it's gonna cost me £200. You okay, baby? I know it makes me sick too. Trains are so great, but oh my gosh, they're so pricey. And I know it's because people commute into London or around, but man. But still, if you're gonna sell that many seats, it's just money grabbing because they're always gonna sell the seats. So it's not a price thing, you know? It's always gonna be that people. Anyways, regardless, the price of trains is absurd. Number 2, won't surprise anyone, Brexit. There's a few things that annoy me about Brexit. I'm not gonna make this pro or anti-Brexit. I'm not having that discussion. It's too far gone, I don't care. Number 1, I'm sick of hearing about it. I think we can all agree. Regardless if you're pro-leave or pro-remain, no one wants to hear about it anymore. The other thing that I hate about it was just that it is to this day so ambiguous. So like, what are you even voting for? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, the money was supposed to go to the NHS and now it's not, and freedom of movement of people, but then they're settling them. So like, everything isn't what it said, but no one really knew what they said because they didn't have a deal, and now the deal isn't that, so is it even, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so annoying. Oh, baby, you're very clingy today. So yeah, I'm sick of hearing about it, and I just hate the way it was handled. I think it could have been handled better. Even if you're pro-leave, I think we can all agree, having a deal with set rules and actually saving money, and not, because I think at this point, leaving has cost more than we would have ever paid into the EU. So if they were just more organized, everything could have been better. Either way, I don't care. So, annoys me. People who are disorganized annoy me. Speed cameras on the highway, they take photos of you. You guys tell me this, unless I'm wrong, so I'd be happy to be wrong. They take photos of you so that they can track how fast you're going in an average speed area. Okay, that flash gives me an absolute heart attack because I think I'm getting a speeding ticket. Is there no other way? I hate them so much, they make me stress so much because I'm always driving because I can't afford the train because the train's too expensive. But in general, the highways aren't too bad, just a bit of traffic. Although I do find It's gonna sound so stupid. I'm a competent driver. I drive for a living. I'm a glorified taxi driver. I hate the double roundabouts. I still get a bit confused on which lane I'm meant to be in, so I just like jump across. My next one is the UK, which will make sense in one moment. I know the difference between Great Britain, the UK, and that island is neither of those things. Anytime a slip of the tongue, you mention the UK when you mean Britain, or you mean England and you say Britain. Do you know Welsh? Like, well, you're British, and they're like, well, I'm Welsh. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's so defensive, and I'm like, I'm actually pretty smart sometimes. It's only sometimes, let's not get crazy. But I do actually know where I live. I know the climate. However, people are just so on it about like, what's a country, what's not a country, Britain, Great Britain, like, don't you make a mistake because they will snap you on it. And I'm like, I wasn't being malice in any way. It was just a slip of the tongue, guys. Can we all just calm down? Another thing that bothers me about the UK, I hate that half the country does metric and half does imperial. I've mentioned this before, I know you guys explained it, but I still think it's annoying. Because sometimes it's kilometers and sometimes it's miles, and then sometimes it's cups, sometimes it's ounces and grams. Consistency. See, we always come back to consistency. Can we just stick to one? It's so confusing. I think even the petrol's in litres, but you drive in miles. What? Yeah, I look forward to the day when it's just like consistent. Probably good for tourists though, to be fair. Parking in London is a nightmare. I have a car. I don't like having a car. I don't need a car. We could be a single car household, but my work makes me have a car, which means I leave it parked out near where I live, and I'm too scared to drive it. Not because of driving, I can drive fine. Not even where I'm going, because I can manage to find parking where I'm going, but my street is so hard to find parking. So I'm like, when I come home, I might not be able to park my car, and then I'll be driving the block for weeks and months trying to find a spot. It's just so annoying. I dream for the day when I can have a driveway again. Oh my god, I would be a liberated person. I could actually have some more autonomy, because I just catch the tube now, because I'd be like, I don't want to risk losing my spot and having to park it. To be fair, they gave me a car. It's a nice car, whatever, but it doesn't have a reverse sensor, and it's like quite a wide sedan. So trying to reverse park that without a sensor, without a camera, on a wide car in these narrow London streets, I'm like, this is too stressful. I'm gonna do it once a month max. Or I'm gonna do it when my husband's around, because I can just force him to do it because he's better. I swear the stereotype of like good driving. I'm actually I literally have driven my whole life. I can drive completely fine. This car though, nightmare. If I had like a hatchback Corolla, reverse park that, no problemo. But this one, I hate this car and I hate reverse parking it. That's not even London's fault, that's just my work's fault for giving me a car when I would rather not have one. But now I have to pay the tax on it, so thanks at work. I love the NHS and I quite like the BBC. However, I feel like they keep getting more and more defunded, and I feel like politically there isn't enough pressure on it. I know people in the UK love them as well and like support it, but I feel like financially it doesn't get the support it wants. And I come from Australia, so we also have universal healthcare, and I work in the medical industry, so I know globally what it looks like. So I have not lived through experience, but I understand the US market, and I fear so hard for the UK, and I just really would hate for it to privatize to the point that it looks like the US. People in the US can't even retire because they've got chronic medication that's not covered, and their health insurance comes from their work. So it's a death sentence or work. Like, I would hate that to become the UK. So I get very paranoid about the NHS. I love it so much that I want to protect it at all costs. Also, I'm pretty sure I probably own some stocks in it at this point. I think I've paid close to £5,000 into the NHS and yet to see a doctor. So you're welcome, Britain. Another thing I hate, and this goes kind of across the board, but the UK's a part of it, but all the media is owned by Americans. Australians, thanks Murdoch, because it's all privately owned, so it's just whatever politically that person who owns that magazine wants, and that's very annoying. And I'm aware Murdoch is the issue, climate change. So it's quite annoying. And then I'll link that as well. The other thing I hate is politics. I think at the moment, Australia, America, UK, I think we can all agree politics is corrupt. I'm not advocating for any party because I feel like all the politicians are just owned by corporations, and it just depends which corporation's paying them, and then they will change the laws for that. They don't work for people, they work for the top 1% at this point, and then the 1% owns the newspapers and tells you to vote in the best interest of the 1%, and that's really annoying. So it's just like the whole system is ruined. And then the other thing that's different from the UK politically is that, say where I live is Greens or something, and then they lost because Greens never get a majority, they would then align their seats to Labour, because then together they would have a bigger majority and a better chance of winning. So they kind of a bit more teamwork and a bit more strategic with it that way. Whereas now in the UK, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but in that scenario, the votes for Greens would just get lost. They would just, because they're not going to be in power and they're not aligned to anything, so it doesn't count for anything. So I think the way the Australian system does it well is that it always counts, which is good. So this video is just going to be the most controversial one I've ever made. The way the media treats Meghan Markle is stupid. So there's all these examples of like how when Kate Middleton did something, she was fine, but when Meghan did it, it was the other way. And you're like, okay, why the double standard? And this links back to the media, so bear with me. So remember how all that Prince Andrew stuff came out and it was pretty much getting buried by the media? Wonder why? Because someone with power owns it and has a vested interest. So they buried all the Prince Andrew stuff until he did that weird interview, which we can all agree was a mistake. But anyways, so the media slash the palace slash I don't know where it's coming from, so I'm not making allegations, but they're killing the story that they don't like about Prince Andrew. So why don't they kill the stories about Markle if she's having such a hard time, which any new mum would? So I find that very disconcerting. And then also just in general, like, they blame her for Harry leaving. I'm like, he's his own man, let him, he can do what he wants. She can leave and he can stay if he really wanted. He makes his own choices. She makes her own choices. Also, if there was a pedophile in my family, I'd probably move away too, if I was a parent. So yeah, and also considering his mum and everything, it makes complete sense why he's reacted this way. But everyone loves to have her as be a villain, and I feel very bad for her. Poor thing. Just wanted to marry the person she was dating. Bit intense. I'm sure there'll be varying opinions. You can let me all know in the comments, I'm sure. Last but not least, I've mentioned this before, the cost of housing. This is more London centric, but I still think it's ridiculous everywhere. If you want to live like near a CBD, like for work, it's stupidly priced. Yes, it's better up north, but still not good. Let's not get carried away. Yeah, so I don't know how I'm gonna afford a house to have a family in at any point. So we'll figure that out when we get to it. I'm gonna be moving to the Wiltshire countryside so I can have some decent space, because I don't know if I could handle having a 2-year-old in a 1-bedroom apartment in London, because that's all we'll be able to afford, because housing's insane. This is probably the wrong video to make when I'm not in a great mood, because I'm just going to come across very cynical. I will say I do love the UK, but these are the parts that are less than ideal. I still wouldn't change it for the world. I just paid £5,000 to get my visa renewed to be a spouse visa, so trust me when I say I very much love it and I've paid a lot to be here, so I wouldn't change that for the world. But if I could change if I could make the trains cheaper, I definitely would. Tell me in the comments below what you don't like about the UK. Is there something I've missed? I was reading some tweets and people have some opinions that I don't necessarily agree with. Some people don't like the weather, and we all know I love the weather here, so bet you thought that was gonna be on this list, and it wasn't. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. This week's shout out is Chelsea at the Disco. When I saw you had at the disco in your username, I was like, I love Panic at the Disco, I have to choose you. So you're my shout out of the week. To be shouted out, you just have to tag me on your Instagram story or post, and or retweet this video on Twitter, or my next video on Twitter. And that could be any of you. If you, like, for now, right now, I know you're watching this, get your phone, you might even be watching this on your phone. Open Instagram stories, take a photo of the computer screen, put it on your story, tag at Yvette's Vibes. And there you go, you're in the running to be shouted out. Might be you next week. Remember to hit subscribe so I can see you next time. And thank you so much for watching. Sorry I couldn't be in a better mood. I'm so tired. Bye.